From an orphan of an impoverished country to a kind father to thousands of orphans. From a young pirate of the Rocks Pirates to the strongest man in the world. And from one measly mustache to the title of Whitebeard. This is the story of how Whitebeard became a Yonko.
One Piece wa jitsuzai suru!
Edward Newgate was born on Sphinx Island, an island that's home to many wild sphinxes, which are some pretty dangerous animals. We actually saw one on level 2 of Impel Down as one of the dangerous beasts to keep the prisoners in check. But the Sphinx on Sphinx Island are actually domesticated, and the island as a whole now is a peaceful place under the protection of Marco the Phoenix. But it wasn't always like this. Sphinx Island was originally a poor country that was unable to pay the heavily tribute. Because of that, it suffered greatly without the protection of the world government, facing dangers from pirates and slavers. Add in the fact that there were a bunch of wild sphinxes running around, it definitely wasn't the ideal place to grow up in. But this was the environment that Whitebeard grew up in, and back then they called him Do-Rag Newgate. Okay, they didn't actually call him that, but he was rocking it. Despite growing up in such a terrible situation, Whitebeard still had a good heart. Even when he went out to sea at a young age to become a pirate, he continued to send money back to his hometown to support it. And that's the first thing you really have to admire about Whitebeard. He didn't let the environment he grew up in shape him into a moralist human being. And not only that, but he was actually still selfless and loyal to his hometown, which is honestly incredible given the situation he grew up in and with no parental figures. I do wonder what his relationship was like with the rest of the citizens, given that he continued to support them. We get a glimpse of some people standing behind him in the only childhood image we have, so maybe those were his friends growing up. And maybe he did have some people look after him that he wanted to return the favor to. Whatever it was, Whitebeard has some great traits as a child that would make him the great captain and father figure he was as a Yonko. His childhood also shaped what he wanted in life. Even as he sailed the seas as a pirate, the one thing he always dreamed about and searched for was a family. But it wasn't a straight road towards the great family he went on to create. In fact, one of the first known crews he was part of was the legendary Rocks Pirate crew. This crew was the complete opposite of family. There was no loyalty and wasn't even uncommon to have crewmates killing each other. Led by Roxty Zebek, the Rocks Pirates formed probably the strongest crew of all time. Not only did it have Whitebeard, but also two other Yonkos with Big Mom and Kaido, and many more legendary pirates. Together they tore through the Grand Line, chasing their captain's ambition to become the king of the world. And there wasn't a thing they didn't do. Went against the world government, committed taboos. It was so bad the world government tried to completely erase them from history. Eventually though, their run finally came to an end 38 years ago at God Valley. In what is now known as the God Valley incident, the Rocks Pirates faced off against Garp and Goldie Roger and were defeated. Afterwards, God Valley supposedly disappeared into the abyss and Roxty Zebek along with it. Or so that's what they say. Because the world government did their best to hide everything about the Rocks Pirates, we don't know much about the God Valley incident. Of course, there's a lot of theory surrounding it. Personally, I believe God Valley has some very powerful devil fruits, and I believe it was the place where Kaido and Whitebeard got their devil fruits. For a person of Whitebeard's power to also get such a strong fruit like the Guru Guru no Mi seems like a big coincidence, and I think God Valley might be the answer. If you want to know more about my theory, you could check out this video I did on it right here. But besides what was actually on God Valley, you also have to wonder about that final battle. It's certainly believable that Garp, Roger, and the Roger Pirates defeated the Rocks Pirates, but what was Whitebeard's role? Because as we see later in his life, Whitebeard has a very friendly relationship with Roger, and definitely has a respectful one with Garp. Was that a result of a near-death battle at God Valley, or did Whitebeard perhaps switch sides? After all, we do still have an unknown reason for why Kaido tried to kill Whitebeard before the Marineford War. For now though, we can only theorize, so let me know your thoughts in the comments. Mystery aside, Whitebeard's time on the Rocks Pirates definitely had an effect on him. He now understood what types of personalities worked well together and that certain people aren't meant to serve others. He also knew that the pirate world was a brutal place and that he needed to protect his crew from these dangers. He saw firsthand how strong and dangerous the greatest pirates in the world were and how strong he needed to be to protect the people he cared about. And perhaps his time on the Rocks Pirates gave him the push to create his family with his own crew. I think in many ways, Whitebeard's time on the Rocks Pirates taught him lessons he needed to become a captain, which was the next phase of his life. Some point after the God Valley incident, Whitebeard founded his crew, the Whitebeard Pirates. So maybe he was the one to give himself the title Whitebeard. Compensating much? He created his crew with a completely different approach from the Rocks Pirates, taking on anybody that didn't have a home and treating them all like family. To pretty much everyone on his crew, he was their father, or But there was one pirate that Whitebeard treated as a little brother, and that was Kozuki Oden. 30 years ago, after shipwrecking at Wano, Whitebeard met Kozuki Oden. After a quick clash, Oden asked Whitebeard if he could join his crew, to which Whitebeard said, "Nah, I'm good, man." But Oden followed along anyways, and after a brutal test of dedication, he joined the Whitebeard Pirates. From that point on, Whitebeard continued to sail the seas and build up strength and influence, but that really wasn't his goal. What he actually wanted to do was to simply go on a grand adventure with his family. Along the way, he kept adding to his family. Any orphans without a home were still picked up by the crew, giving them new members like Marshall D. Teach. And as his crew expanded, he created divisions, starting with 5 divisions with Kozuki Oden leading the 2nd division. However, Oden's time as division leader didn't last very long, because just 2 years later, he joined the Roger Pirates. And with this, we saw our first glimpse of the rivalry between Goldie Roger and Whitebeard. After greeting each other with an outrageous Conqueror's Haki clash, the two crews fought for 3 days and 3 nights, after which they just simply chilled out and partied. This dynamic of Roger and Whitebeard really showed their mutual respect for each other and the types of personalities they had. They challenged each other because they knew the other was strong and they liked fighting someone of their own caliber. But in the end, both of them had no ill intent to actually cause any harm. It's still very interesting how they were able to form this relationship just years after the God Valley incident. But this rivalry between Roger and Whitebeard would continue even as Roger became the Pirate King. Even with the departure of Oden, Whitebeard continued to sail the seas with his family and continued to grow his crew. He took control of many islands, including Fishman Island, which gained him an ally in Jinbei, and as time passed, the crew grew to 1,617 people, consisting of 16 divisions. These division leaders were some of the strongest within the crew: Marco the Phoenix, Vista the Flower Sword, and Diamond Jozu. But even beyond that, the Whitebeard Pirates had at least 43 subordinate crews that were just as loyal as the main crew. These were crews from everywhere in the New World, and many of their captains were former Whitebeard pirates like Whitey Bay. And when you add in these subordinate crews, this probably expanded Whitebeard's manpower into the thousands. But while that is certainly impressive, Whitebeard himself was even more impressive. He became so strong that he gained the title of the strongest man in the world. His bounty grew to 5,046,000,000, the 2nd highest bounty of all pirates, second to only Goldie Roger. And to many, he was seen as an equal to Roger and the man closest to becoming the Pirate King after Roger's death. And if that wasn't enough, he also found a replacement for the leader of the 2nd division in Porgus the Ace. Ace had initially challenged Whitebeard because he wanted to take down all the Yonko and make a name for himself, but Whitebeard gave him quite the wake-up call and pretty much just beat his ass. Surprisingly though, Whitebeard then invited Ace to join his crew, and after failing 100 times in trying to kill Whitebeard, Ace accepted becoming a Whitebeard pirate and eventually became the 2nd division leader. Unfortunately for Whitebeard, his own family would lead to his own demise as the conflict between Blackbeard and Ace led to the Marineford War. But even in death, Edward Newgate protected his family and stood proudly without a scar on his back. And it's that incredible loyalty, leadership, pride, and power that made Whitebeard a Yonko. Pick a number between 1 and 3, and if I guess it right, you have to subscribe and watch that video. 3, 2, 1, 2. Hopefully I got it.